I'm watching this as if it's gonna go a different way. But I know it's not. Hello there, my fandom friends! Today I am continuing my Vinland Saga rewatch series where I rewatch Vinland Saga after 1, not seeing it in a very long time, and 2, and most importantly, after finishing the whole manga series. Of course, if you don't know by now, we got our final chapter about a week ago from the author Makoto Yukimura. So I started this series where I am rewatching this just to get all of my thoughts out about foreshadowing and Easter eggs, to cope with the ending of a beautiful series, and just to gush about it with friends like you who understand the amazing entertainment value behind this story. If you have not seen Vinland Saga, I encourage you to go back to episode 1 and watch alongside me through my journey rewatching this. If you have seen Vinland Saga, I also encourage you to rewatch it or watch this series as we talk about Easter eggs and fun foreshadowing throughout the whole series. So without further ado, let's get into episode 3, Troll. Oh yeah, starting off with this scene. I do remember something funny happens here. Stinking Floki. Again, not a fan. 15 years ago? Oh my gosh. He's such a good voice actor for this kind of character. Askeladd asking the real questions. From Askeladd's first scene, he's already painted as this, like, a very strong character. And intelligent. Dang, Floki's crazy. Oh yeah. It's so brutal, but it's so funny. So playful. That, sir, is where you're wrong. Oh my gosh, I love that. Let's go! Again, I'm gonna sit here and listen to this song because I love it. Here we go. She's not interested at all. She truly just doesn't care. They're like, no, you're the only girl this age here. She's so sweet. I love Leif, he's so cute.
一度ノルウェーによるトールスのやつ若造どもをそこへ置いてけぼりにするつもりだ。そこから先トールスはノルウェーの船乗りの助けを借りてヨムスボルグへ向かう。わしゃ先トルフィン、おいどこだトルフィン。
レイフさん。それじゃあトールズさんは一人で戦場へ行くの？
改装準備。
I think by this point when I watched it the first time, I was like, oh, obviously he's on the boat. He's also really sad. I forgot about that.
トルフィンのやつ、父上のお見送りもしないなんて。昨日怒られたの根に持ってんだわ、あいつ。
Yeah, I was gonna say I think it's sad because Thors.
トルフィンに伝えてくれ。その、頼む。
But it's sad because like does Thors know, like, just maybe he won't make it back alive and he didn't see his son. But going back to the ore scene, I totally forgot about that. It is the best thing ever. It's so funny. Everyone else struggling to keep up. And then there's Thors. Not exactly what you thought, huh?
舵を取れ。よ。
それでもう引き返せないってこと？
まあそうだな。父上。
父上。
トルフィン、お前。
後にして。
Oh, I forgot about this. I forgot he had to pee. It's so like innocent and real. Oh man, he's seeing the world as he's peeing. He's so cute. Also, that reminded me of Armin from Attack on Titan. Look at his face. He's like, oh my gosh. Oh, it's so cute. Yeah, he got it from the start. Oh, this is so interesting. Oh.
殺して金もらうことに変わりはねえだろ。ほら、降りてこい、ワンガキ。
面を拝んでみたくなったぜ、ヨウムのトロル。少しは楽しめる男だと嬉しいね。
I don't think I can show that on YouTube, so. It's so cute. I love them.
こうする。ついてきてくれ。わかった。
So skilled. I love little details like that too, showing how experienced he is. Okay, cool, yeah.
どうしてこんな海を迷わず進めるんだ？
いずり込まれるぞ。
ねえ、トールズさん。最初首取って男にな
I
りてん
really
だ。
don't think he wants to talk about that.
なるほどな。確かにうちの娘は強い男が好みだ。大変だな、お前も。
いや、まあ、参ったな。お見通しですか。
ユルバが好きか、あれ。
いやー、好みっすね。可愛いっす。
あいつは俺がまだ。
Oh, I remember this. He didn't want her.
うるせえな。
Why is he holding her like
みんな
that?
こんなに泣くもんなのか。
トールズ様、そのような持ち方をされて。
俺は忙しい。これからノルウェー遠征だ。
It's so interesting seeing the difference between this Thors and the Thors we know now. Like, he just doesn't care. He's an entirely different person.
この子に名前
ユルバという名は俺の母の名だ。とっさに浮かんだ。今思えば血を知る戦友たちは俺を罵るだ
I
ろう。
like how he told him.
おいフェローが見えたぞ
I mean, I feel like that kind of proves that he trusts him. I really like that. Oh wait, those islands.
父上ねえここイングランドに着いたの
全然不正解ここはフェロー諸島
改装準備。
I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I don't want to see this.
ほら頑張れ
何がだ？
さて何がだろうだが前に来た時とは何かがそうか家の数だ家の数が減っている
引き返そうレイフさん。良くない気配がする。地形も悪い。
マジですか。
おい、あいつら逆走してるぞ。
気づいたか。
へえ、やるの。慎重だな。手強いかもしれねえぞ。
I
近
felt like
す
they
ぎ
were a
る
little
が仕方ね
faster.
え。多少船が傷ついても構わん。やれ。
It's just a random chair? What the heck? That's supposed to make me laugh.
出口が
どうだ。
よし少女やつら袋のネズミだ。
Oh.
トールズみんな大丈夫か
全員無事か。
I'm watching this as if it's gonna go a different way.
矢が来るぞ。
But I
盾で
know it's
頭を隠
not.
せ。レイフさん、そっちの被害は？
大丈夫だ船も人もなんともない
Ugh. No.
海賊
I'm upset.
これは家の柱か。なんてこったか。
たった2隻だ。
よせあれ。奴らは手だれだ。農民が夏場の出稼ぎでやってる海賊とはわけが違う。お前の叶う相手じゃない。
That's an interesting.
父上
Not the headband. Ah!
トールズさん
I'm gonna cry. I like the symbolism though of like all of that wood coming from the houses, which is what Leaf noticed. There's a decrease of them.
トルフィン、
That's really sad too. The Askeladd also did
身を
that.
守るためだけに使え。いいな。
Only use it to
いざという
protect
時だけだぞ。
yourself. Stop. He looks so serious too. Look at his.
やるん
Oh
す
my.
かやるんすね
Oh.
よーしやるぞ
簡単にやるなんて言うな。
ビョルンあんたそのキノコ
あれ俺に任せてくんねえか。
It's
あれっ
just the
ぱかしに全員
mushroom
でか
hanging
かっ
out
ちゃ
of.
面白くねえ。業務のトロロって
なんだてめえどっから降ってきやがった
They look so young. Oh my gosh. Dang, he was the first one that went down. Okay.
トロル。
No. I'm not ready for that next episode. I'm really not. Great cliffhanger. Alright, so we're gonna just start off by talking about my initial thoughts about this episode. So right off the bat, we get a really interesting scene of Askeladd and Floki discussing. I thought it was really interesting that right off the bat, you can just tell how much of a character Askeladd is going to be. You kind of gather that he's super strong, and not only like physically in like a fight, but also intelligence-wise. He's very wise, and he seems to question things to fully understand a situation, much to obviously Floki's disdain, because it does seem like Floki is hiding something, which that was also very interesting. Even how he had one of his crew, Bjorn, throw the spear perfectly because he knew that there was someone there listening in, and Floki obviously knew that he knew. He's able to put that together, that that wasn't just an accident because people were drunk, but because Askeladd is intelligent. Again, I just love all of the father-son moments we get of Thors and Thorfinn. We see that, of course, Thors is not very happy that Thorfinn snuck onto the ship. However, I feel like he's also kind of partially happy that he gets to experience the world, at least in this little way, before, of course, they get to the island. But of course, that backfired because they walked into a trap and could not get out. I love, again, all of the details that we're getting from Leaf, how he's really able to read the ocean and the air, the atmosphere. He just reads the ocean, and I love that, and I love how we're getting just little details from that. That, of course, Thors also has kind of experience sailing, but not as much as Leaf, and so he's not really able to pick up on things like him. So again, really great character development there for a character that's not completely a main character. I really liked the background that we got on how Yalva was born, and again, that kind of character development that we're getting for Thors right off the bat. This is literally episode 3, and we can see from back then what kind of person he was, and now what kind of person he is, and how much he's truly changed. Back then, we've had multiple scenes of him truly just not caring. Like, he truly just wants to battle, he wants to fight, and now we're getting this other kind of person that is almost like a completely different person, which is really cool. I feel like we don't get a lot of characters like that in stories where you can see their development and them as a completely changed person right off the bat. Of course, this story doesn't completely surround Thors. Thorfinn is our main character, but Thors is still important because he's Thorfinn's dad. And as we will see in upcoming episodes, we're about to get things more fleshed out. I also like how we got part of Thor's backstory kind of as he's talking to Ari, who obviously he can tell that he really likes his daughter. They're kind of trying to have that like awkward, like kind of partner to father relationship of like, okay, I really want to be with your daughter. Is that okay? And just kind of like trying to get to know each other. And I think that by Thors really opening up to him about Yelva being born and the reason why she got her name, how she got that name is like really beautiful. And I feel like that just shows how much that he trusts him and really does like him. And even in later scenes, we get him kind of passing along wisdom to Ari, like stop throwing around the word kill. Do not use that so lightly. Because Ari had said that word like 4 or 5 times in a row, and Thors was just like, hey, you need to calm down, like I'm trying to teach you something here. So yeah, I think I really appreciated a lot of their moments together and kind of, again, just showing more background on Thors. And then of course we end the episode with them getting trapped. We see that Askeladd is there, and we get really cool shots of Thors taking out Askeladd's crew by literally just punching them. I was definitely blown away by this the first time I watched. I was like, oh, okay, I guess I assumed he would take out his sword and start like, you know, destroying the crew. But we get a really interesting take on what kind of a character Thors is, and not necessarily that he's this warrior that people think he is. He's a very different kind of warrior, which we will get to in the future. So I'm not going to talk about that as much right now.
Thorfinn、身を守るためだけに使え。いいな、いざという時だけだぞ。
That is going to wrap up all of my initial thoughts. So now we are going to be moving into spoilers. So 3, 2, 1, spoilers ahead. So right off the bat, at the start of this episode, I was already super intrigued by the conversation between Floki and Askeladd. Again, Askeladd is of course asking him questions. How does he fight? What kind of a warrior is he? Blah, blah, blah. But he was also asking questions that were kind of trying to catch Floki in a lie, because he could tell that he was keeping secrets. And Askeladd was like, well, how come one of your people can't end Thors? Why? And Floki's like, why are you questioning me? Like, just do it for the money. And Askeladd's like, okay, like, you're sus. And I agree, I don't like Floki at all. However, what we do know from the manga is Floki's true intentions here. Floki is very protective of his grandson Balder, and he wants him to become the new leader. However, that does make me wonder if Thorfinn was around, I believe, 22-ish years old when we met Balder, who is, I believe, 10 to 12-ish years old. I'm wondering how old Balder is now. I'd have to do the math on that, but like, he must be really young. Like, actually, was he even born? I'm gonna have to do some thinking on this, honestly, but anyway, we know Floki's real intentions here. We know that there's secrets being held, and that all relates back to the manga. So I think that's really cool that by episodes 2 and 3, we can see that Floki is already super manipulative, and we don't know why until much later. So great foreshadowing there. Again, more talk on Ari, of course. Later on in the manga, we see that Ari and Jelva do get together. Something I found interesting is that Ari had talked about how he wants to get her a necklace throughout his travels. I think it would have been really cool if later in the manga, when we see that Ari and Jelva are together, if she's wearing a necklace. She doesn't really seem like a jewelry wearing kind of person though, so I could see her declining that. That's just kind of the person she is. But that kind of foreshadowing would have been really cool from episode 3, and then of course when we eventually get to see them together much later. I don't know if she was wearing a necklace, but that's just my speculation, or something that I think would be really cool to see in the anime. Something else I briefly mentioned a couple episodes ago is that all of this actually took place much later in the manga. So in the manga, book 1 actually started with the Normandy battle, and then it kind of went back to all of this as a flashback a little bit later after Askeladd and Thorfinn have their first fight, at least the first one that was shown on screen and in the manga. So there is a swap in how the anime and the manga handles this whole entire first couple episodes compared to kind of just the little bits that we get in the manga. I think I like the pacing of the anime a little bit more because we really get to have more depth with Thorfinn and his family, especially Thors. We get lots more like almost flashbacks that weren't included in the manga. I know episode 5 coming up is not in the manga at all, so I'm really pumped to get to that episode and really break that one down. But yeah, as always, definitely really interesting seeing the similarities and differences between the anime and manga. And honestly, both are great. Like, I love both ways that they went. I feel like that's about it for kind of spoilery Easter eggs and foreshadowing leading up to the manga from this episode. So I'm gonna leave it there. I, of course, you know, loved all of the little details of Thors patting Thorfinn's head. Of course, that just makes me think about Thorfinn patting, you know, his two children's heads, and just like the beautiful father-son moments there between, of course, Thorfinn and Thors, and then later on with Thorfinn and his own kids. Like, I literally just love it so much. It makes my heart so happy. It's also just so weird for my mind to wrap around seeing Thorfinn around the same-ish age as Carly, because of course Carly was around that age for like half of season 3 and all of season 4. I talk about season 3 and 4 as if we already have them. I guess I mean more of the arcs, so the Eastern Expedition arc, and then of course the Vinland arc, which I believe will be seasons 3 and 4. But that is besides the point here. So we are going to wrap up this video now. I hope you are still enjoying my rewatch of this amazing series. I am just loving it so much, and I'm really excited to eventually, very soon, get to Thorfinn growing up more, and I think it's gonna really wreck me to see the kind of person he is in season 1, obviously after, you know, this episode and the next one. The way that he develops into such a terrible person, but obviously knowing what's to come, and just knowing the beautiful journey that his character goes through. So I'm like really curious to see just him as a kid again. In the comments, I would love to hear from you. The first time you read the manga or watched this episode of the anime, were you expecting Thors to just start punching people, basically knocking them out? Or were you expecting him to take more of a road of permanent violence as in ending lives? Because again, like I said, I was not expecting him to just throw out punches and have these people, his opponents, still be alive, but just knocked out. That's so not a Viking thing to do, but of course by this point, it totally makes sense for his character development. That is going to wrap things up for now. I hope to see you in the future for more Vinland Saga content, as well as more fun fandom content to come. Bye!